Hi, I'm Fred Miller. I'm an organizational consultant, and I've been very fortunate to get to work with a number of orchestras and other nonprofits in this country. And in a series of video blogs, I've been exploring 4 implications of major shifts and changes occurring in our society. And collectively, these 4 implications create a constellation to help organizations navigate the future. One of those elements is adaptive capacity. When we see organizations effectively moving into the future, they have a capacity to adapt. They realize that they have to be about something different. And they work at the capacity inside themselves to be that difference. Now, when an organization is confronted with really fundamental shifts, and it hasn't found a way to stay as it is and thrive. It may stay as it is and survive, but it's not thriving. It means it's facing an adaptive challenge. Now, adaptive challenge is easy to describe, very difficult to work on. What it usually means is there's a conflict between the realities an organization faces and the values its leaders hold. The values are about one thing, and the pressures are about something else. I mean, just think of the stress that's been put on enterprises in this country with the internet and how we have values about how we interact with people. And in the orchestra world, we experience it as what live means. Does live mean I'm physically present to experience the orchestra as it performs? If you're my generation, it does. If you're the generation of my grandchildren, it can also mean if I'm experiencing it streaming, I'm there. And if I'm experiencing it streaming on my computer, and at the same time on my smartphone, I'm interacting with several people perhaps elsewhere in the world, and we're all engaged in the streaming and talking about this experience with each other as we tweet or iMessage or whatever it is you're doing to communicate. It is so live because I am live in my communication with each other, and I'm live in the experience that we're all sharing at the same time. Now, I'm not suggesting any one of these is right or wrong. It's an example of seismic shift. And so it's an example of where the values you have are or are not aligned with the realities that you experience. And you're caught with a challenge to adapt. So what that means is people have to say, wow, here's this adaptive challenge. What does that really mean for me? Because most people start saying, what does it mean for the organization? And the research is very clear. I have to first say, oh, what's the challenge for me? The values I hold, what I believe, what I aspire to. Because if I can't confront the conflicts in myself, it's very difficult to engage with others as they're confronting the conflicts in themselves and the conflicts for the organization. Now, this is not easy stuff. This is really hard stuff. But it's one of the things that extraordinary leaders do. Extraordinary leaders help those they are with on a journey and the organizations they are engaged in confront the conflicts between the values they hold and the realities of the world. So if you're going to effectively govern, you have to say, as one of my clients did, what has to be different about us? What has to be different about us in a decade? And if that's true, what better be different about us today? And what we know is, it's rarely about structure. It's about the composition of the group. It's about the culture of the group. It's about the practices of that group. And it's about its capacity to have courageous discussion and action. Now, let's assume you might agree that you need adaptive capacity. It doesn't mean you say, oh yeah, I know how to do it. You say to me, okay, Fred, so how do you get this in an enterprise? Well, if it's about practices and culture and not structure, then you have to think about what do you do that fosters it. So here's some things to think about. If you do an organizational assessment or a board assessment, you might ask some questions like, so what do you think will be the most significant issues, opportunities, challenges that this organization will be confronted with the next 5 to 10 years? And then when people share those, you say, well, what would have to be the same, and what do you think would have to be different if you're going to be able to grapple with those issues, those challenges, those opportunities? And then you'd say, what is it about us that either resists our ability to embrace these, to celebrate them, and to figure out how to act on them? Or what is it that assures me that we're really going to embrace them and act on them? Now, when you get those, you then say, wait a minute. How well established are we as a guiding coalition, willing to take on difficult issues, willing to deal with conflict, embracing the energy that can come out of the collision of these things? And when it gets tough, do we hang together or do we disappear? Because if you get a group that can say it's exciting to play with those issues because it frees you to go someplace else, and it gives you energy and resources to think about what do you really need to take into the future with you. And if you can hold a coalition together, you have the possibility of beginning to deal with the excitement that is created when the world changes. And the world changed with the internet. Our whole world is different. We can damn it, we can celebrate it, but it is different.